Boomf, we're off. Welcome to the final episode of my 3-part series, Pass the Salt. I'm in France. Looking for any occasion right now to remind myself that I'm in France. So welcome to Blithering Thoughts and all the background sounds of life. We're really experiencing a authentic walk and talk this morning. I'm in the backyard area of the gîte that we're staying at here, about 40 minutes outside the mall. And there's a sunflower field. I should get a picture of this. I mean, if there's an amazing moment in terms of being able to create a podcast episode that could inspire creativity, that this is that moment. So I'm going to just start off with some sounds of life, because I like this idea of just incorporating the background sounds of life into Blithering Thoughts, the evolution of Blithering Thoughts, my creativity platform. So here we go. I got this over here. See if you can figure out what this is. Okay, did you hear that? And here we go, like this. No, go like this. Okay, that was the sound of 2 pétanque balls hitting one another. And I started off my morning playing pétanque with my youngest son. And then a little bit of ping pong, so that was pretty cool. So I wanted to have that pétanque moment a part of this morning file. Now we got another sound going on here. Okay, this is a can of Perrier. And I really do enjoy my Perrier. So perhaps you're having some tea. Well, this might be a morning file for me. It might not be a morning file for you. We struggle with creativities at every possible point in a day. And so if you're tuning in because you're looking for some inspiration, because that's what we do here, share inspiration and inspire creativity at the Hopeful Humanist Cafe sister podcast called Blithering Thoughts, about t-shirt ideas, novel first sentences, and etcetera moments. There you go. So I'm not going to start off with a quote today. I'm going to paraphrase more or less some of my understandings of Camus. I'm reading The Myth of Sisyphus, and I think it's kind of poetic that I'm doing so while I'm in France. It just heightens the magical aspect of being here for me, because I experience the absurd all the time, and I'm wondering if other people do as well. But while Camus, it could seem like there's a whole bunch of bad news. You know how they talk about like the bad news of Buddhism, or the hard truths about the suffering when we look at some of the ideas contained in Christianity. That Camus has some hard truths to swallow, and in terms of recognizing that the world is absurd. But he says, this is my kind of paraphrase, while the world is absurd, it's still a privileged moment. And that's how I feel being here in France. It's a privileged moment. And it's inspired my t-shirt thought for today, which would be, if you can just imagine a t-shirt on it, it would have dynamic now. We have to talk about being in the now. But I think that the now always needs a qualifier. And that's the fact that it's dynamic, it's not static. It's kind of like there's this ephemeral, thread-like filament that stretches behind and forward simultaneously at the same time. And that, in this moment, things have led up to it. And while we're, hopefully steeped in the concreteness of the now, we recognize that it kind of orients us in terms of the movements we make in our future. Sounds of life. And at one point, about 9 months ago, we were just imagining coming to France. And one of the high points was going to be about this evening tonight, where we're celebrating my beautiful wife's incredible, my mother-in-law's birthday. And we started organizing things 9 months ago. And 9 months ago, I was like, you know what? It's like it's already here, even though it's not here. Because you're looking forward to it, you're investing in it. And I said, in a sense, it's already done. I know that sounds depressing in a sense, and I don't mean it to be. It really is a call to being awake in the moment, like just really living consciously. And so today is an incredible day, and I'm hoping that you're having an incredible day. This is a morning file. I'm in a green patch here with sunflower plants all around this huge field at this gîte in the countryside. I played some pétanque with my son, my youngest, and then a little bit of ping pong. And now I'm working on the final episode of this reboot for the Blithering Thoughts creativity platform that I'm reviving. And it's an incredible, and so I have, in terms of these ideas of dynamic now, privileged moment, and really consciously investing in this moment to create like eternal moments, like moments that while they come and they go, that they resonate with us. They not only strike a chord, but we carry them with us in terms of the fabric of our very beings. And so that's exciting. I had an additional thought, though, that there are a number of different things I can do to try to help foster creativity in terms of whatever artistic block a person might be experiencing. And I was just made mindful of the crumple basket. So the crumple basket is this idea, and I invite you to experiment with this. You get a basket, that it's got some kind of design where there are holes in the basket, so you can kind of see into the basket. And that when you're working on something and you're getting a block, you kind of get a sketch sheet, an outline sheet, a piece of paper. You write your mind mapping thoughts on it. When you get that block, that a part of the creativity process would be to crumple it up, like crumple that up and throw it in the basket. But it's not garbage. See, this is symbolic of a process of percolating kind of unconsciously, then coming back to and reanimating in a conscious sense, so that you can add to it and it can manifest itself. It can evolve over time. Speaking of manifesting, there has been a manifestation recently. It was a couple days ago, and we got a gift given to us by my wonderful mother. Very generous, very loving, very supportive giving. And she recognized that there was kind of a meme, a family meme unfolding, this idea of the I'm almost there. And so she suggested, well, why don't I get you t-shirts? We passed by this t-shirt place, and it just everything seemed to kind of fall together. I'm like, yeah, that would be great. And she says, I'll get you, like, what would you like on it? And I said, well, why don't we go with the meme that we've been creating as a family, I'm almost here. And we'll put a lizard for my other son, my youngest, who's kind of been like nature boy. And then there's going to be something for both of them there. And then it will include the fact that you're giving this as a gift to us, which means that you were with us on this trip, which was incredible. And it was on a day that my wife was reconnecting with family and friends. As we live in Canada, she doesn't have all these kind of occasions to do that. And so, the shirts were being picked up. Then we were picking them up the next day. So, like, a lot of things were just kind of the essence and the energy of all these other activities were kind of like infused into the shirt of I'm almost here, with the picture of the lizard underneath. And so we had a manifestation. So that was wonderful. But in terms of that manifestation, a lot of what's been happening is I've been making these notes and then crumpling it up. And then going back to them. And I think that there could be something powerful in that. So I would encourage you to experiment with that and see if that could be helpful in terms of fostering some creativity. The other thought that I had that I could put out there in terms of just giving some people a little bit of a push to think differently is explain the boomph and the bugadoo. So the boomp and the bugadoo, they're just nonsensical words. Once again, words that we created in our family, but they have meaning for us, right? So boomph is the idea, kind of like you're walking around a corner and then something, you wake up to something, like you bump into someone that you'd just been thinking about and there they are, or you've been thinking about something and you find something that just seems to resonate in terms of that thought that you had. It reinforces it, it celebrates it. And so that's boomph. Now the bugadoo, well, I don't even really know what it means. When my boys were very young, I just say, you're a bugadoo. And they're like, I'm not a bugadoo. And I'm like, well, I'm a bugadoo. They're like, well, I'm a bugadoo too. And I'm like, okay, well, we're all bugadoos. So wouldn't you like to be a bugadoo too? So perhaps today, to get over that hump, that creative block, maybe you're going to invent a nonsensical word that can you can bring some life to it. You can infuse it with some meaning, and it could help you get the creative juices flowing. The last thought I had, and this is before I introduce my novel first sentence for the novel that I have not written, would be this idea of, what am I calling it? Dialoguing memes. Yeah. So my favorite one is there's you just imagine these different memes that are having conversations, and Mr. Huxley, who wrote The Doors of Perception and Brave New World. In Brave New World, he has this idea, that the world is changing, and everything that goes with change, those feelings, the tumult. And I imagine him having a discussion with the talking heads, and he says, it's a brave new world out there. And the talking heads say, same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. So, two possible memes that you could kind of imagine having a dialogue with a meme that you want to bring into this. How about, the commander, I forget what his name was, in, I don't even remember the movie, but A Few Good Men. Yes, A Few Good Men with Jack Nicholson. And he says to the young Tom Cruise, you can't handle the truth. So what do you think? What would that kind of meme look for in terms of an interesting conversation, like some kind of response from another meme? And to that end, what we could imagine is that we have Clockwork Orange walks into a room where Forrest Gump is playing ping pong. What would that look like? What would that conversation look like? And I'll leave it to you. So let's get to our, I got my crumple notes here, our novel sentence of the day. And as I said, this is kind of like non-sequitur, and in terms of format, if things fit, that's good. Perhaps it's better if they don't, and then you have to figure out how to make them fit, because then that kind of puts a little bit of pressure on oneself to kind of just get outside of mainstream thinking. Think outside the box. So this is a real short one today. It says, back there, I had everything, but nothing. Here, I have nothing, but everything. So there you go. We got our dynamic now idea for a t-shirt. We got eternal moments, just trying to be mindful of those really magical moments that just seem to unfold and totally invest ourselves in them. Right? Like, for instance, some of the things I've really been enjoying on this trip have been the settling time discussions I've been having with my boys. Just talking about the adventure that we're having here and life. And even before we left Kitchener to drive to Toronto to catch our plane to come to land in Paris, Samuel, my youngest, and I'm not using real names. I just, kind of some fictitious names, just, to protect them. He said, Dad, what's the point of life? And I didn't answer him. And that is the kind of question that we can kind of come back to, and I can ask him, so, what do you think now, after that experience? What are your thoughts? And as I shared before, he said, it's about connection and enjoyment. And so we're able to revisit those conversations, and I very much enjoy that. We've had some really good time playing some bocce ball. James, my youngest, he did amazing when we were playing bocce ball, when I was playing with my father-in-law. And he was the real decider in the moment. Just being with family. And then I guess these last 3 episodes of the reboot for the evolution of Blithering Thoughts has kind of been like a time capsule piece. And so I'm able to kind of take this experience with me. And there's just been so many of them. The boys, they identified a highlight was when we were on the lawnmower, and they were able to drive. And then at a certain point, I was with them. They were, sitting on my lap. I was letting them push the gas independently and drive while I was just there for support. And they talked about that, right? So the dynamic now, just really being mindful about the now, settling into the now, and cherishing it. I have a feeling that there's not going to be any time for me to do any more discussions here while I'm in France. And so I'm calling this the conclusion of my 3-part series. I hope that there's been something here that might have helped with the creative juices this morning, or whatever time of the day that we're spending time with one another. And until our next moment of inspiration, peace, take care, and bugadoo.